Welcome everybody to the comic panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Talon.
And I'm Shawenta.
Today we are covering Cable Classic Volume 1 with writing from Louise Simonson and Fabian Nicieza, art by Rob Liefeld, John Romita Jr., art Thibert, and many others, lots of talented inkers, letterers, and editors and such that we definitely recommend that you check out. So yeah, and this is the first installment in our Comics Roulette theme, where we have picked semi-randomly books that we are excited for and books that we are very not excited for.
It was a sliding scale of 5 books we each chose. And then we got to Russian roulette it and read one of those.
And this was one of my picks. And this was number 5.
Yeah.
Meaning the one I least wanted to read.
Right.
The one was like, if I have to.
And it did not disappoint.
If it makes more sense to put it in Dungeons and Dragons terms, we rolled a crit fail.
It's what is it, crit or nat 1?
Yeah, and that one is a crit fail. Yeah. Same.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
This is Cable Classic Volume 1. It includes the first appearance of Cable in New Mutants number 87, Cable Metal and Blood, the 2-issue miniseries, and then Cable issue 1 through 4 of his ongoing series that basically spins right out of Cable Blood and Metal.
I gotta say, they don't make issues like this anymore. These were long.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking that Blood and Metal might be double-sized, and then they were, and then I was like, oh, good thing that issues 1 and 4, they're just going to be like 22 pages, and then I opened up issue 1, and I was like, issue 1 is double-sized too?
They can't get enough of Cable.
They can't. They really couldn't. He had all of the stuff, big guns, lots of pouches, wide shoulders, other really strange body anatomy.
Wait, so we gotta go through the story of it, but I do have to ask.
Yeah.
Did Rob Liefeld design the Cable?
Yeah, his first appearance was in New Mutants 87. So
it's his character, sort of? I see.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I didn't realize this was his first appearance. Mutants 87.
I believe it is anyway. I guess I could be wrong. Let me just quickly recheck that.
They really were like, here's this dude, he's an assassin, you guys get it, isn't he cool?
I mean, it makes sense why he was hardly in it.
Yeah, okay. Technically, he appeared as a baby in Uncanny X-Men 201, but
right.
I assume that's...
other than that...
Yeah.
Oh, so is that because his parents show up or something in that? I'm wondering.
Yeah. So Cable is the son of Scott Summers and Jean Grey.
Oh my god.
Also known as Cyclops and the Phoenix.
Or
okay,
Marvel
that
Girl?
does explain some later issue stuff where they're like, he's after my parents, and I'm like, one of them's probably a mutant because we're going to a mutant place.
Yeah, honestly,
I really am just like blind going into these comics. I love it.
Yeah. Also, quick self-correction. I always mess this up every time. Technically, his mom is actually Madeline Pryor, aka Jean Grey's clone.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny because he was
normal stuff.
He was then dating a clone, and then he found out, and he was not okay with that.
And then he's possibly a clone.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh. Wow, it's a whole mess.
Cloning's just running rampant in this place.
Yeah.
But to be fair to the clone he was dating, she she just looked like Domino, right?
Ish.
She like disguised herself. She wasn't really a clone.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, you're right.
She's like, we had something.
Yeah. Oof. That was
okay.
Anyway, yeah.
So New Mutants, he shows up, like we said, kind of briefly. It was a lot about the mutants.
The New Mutants. And yeah, so it really just follows the Mutant Liberation Front as they're trying to get, what are they called? Skids and Rusty Collins, who are two mutants who are detained in a hospital, detained by another mutant group led by Mystique. And so the Mutant Liberation Front are deemed by the media and most mutants as terrorists. And so
is the other one the Mutant Freedom Fighters or whatever?
That sounds familiar.
Or I think they're Freedom Force or
that's that. Yeah.
And so they are doing all these crimes to try and get the government to hand over Rusty and Skids. They just end up breaking into the hospital.
Fine, we'll just steal them.
Right. And the Mutant Liberation Front is led by a man named Stryfe, who will be a recurring character in this volume. We also get some mutants who are in Asgard and trying to get home. I assume that's not part of this comic.
That's its own thing.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. That is the team, the New Mutants.
Okay.
Versus the evil New Mutants.
What? Are you thinking of the Brotherhood of Mutants?
No,
the
I'm just
Liberation
saying
Front.
that, like, all these mutants are new to me.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So they're like, it's they're either evil or they're sort of evil or they're Mystique.
They're Mystique.
And, I mean, Cable just comes in. He's like tries to stop them from taking the kids, Rusty and Skids.
But unsuccessful.
He gets some pretty good hits in.
I
It just
suppose.
seems to happen. He like always comes in and he's like hurts them a little bit and he's like, failed.
Yeah. Then we go into Cable, Blood and Metal, which, to try and summarize, there's a lot of Cable's past that is coming back to haunt him.
Cable, he's part of that team called the Six Pack.
Yes. Or what? So is it Six Pack or Wild Pack? I think he says both.
Yeah,
they have to rename it for copyright reasons.
Right. Yeah.
Right, which is
so funny.
Yeah, and so they, in the past, like about 10 years ago at this point, they led they went into Afghanistan.
They were like mercenaries, right? They were working on behalf of a benefactor. They just got jobs done, came in, extracted stuff, did whatever they were asked to. But then the one time that they don't is because
of Stryfe, I believe.
Yeah, they run into Stryfe for the first time, I think.
I think. I don't remember.
And then they get to meet him a bunch more times.
Yeah. Yeah, so this comic is really confusing because they jump around time a lot, and so it's hard to keep up with what's what.
They constantly have Cable meeting Stryfe currently.
Yeah.
And then they'll jump back to like 7 years previously, 6 years previously. And the past portion is basically, Cable literally shoots one of his teammates in the back to stop him from surrendering to Stryfe some information to save one of their teammates.
Yeah.
And so of course the team is like, okay, we've literally botched this mission. Nobody's gonna trust us. We're just gonna be hunted by everybody now. And then the current the current is him trying to he fights with Kane, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
And then he reconciles later.
Yeah. Yeah, it opens with the Mutant Liberation Front, or at least, the story of what's happening in current day. Mutant Liberation Front is gathering all these artifacts, and they're still being led by Stryfe, and so that's why Cable comes in to thwart them. And he's able to stop them from stealing a sword, but they get away. And so he tries to figure out what's going on with the sword. And then we have Kane, who was part of the Wild Pack, 10 years ago. But the thing that happened
to him... Hammer was the one who's trying to save Kane because Kane was taken hostage. And Hammer was the one who got shot in the back.
Right.
By Cable. And now he can't walk, I think, among other things.
Yeah, can't walk. And then Kane himself lost his arms and legs, I believe. And so currently he's got a whole bunch of metal enhancements, and he's a lot like Cable. Yeah.
Also, I was just going to quickly interject. I did find out why they changed from Wild Pack to 6-pack.
It's a real life reason, right?
Well, I mean, it doesn't say in real life, but basically the character Silver Sable, she already had a team called Wild Pack, so I assume the real life reason is that the writer came up independently with the name Wild Pack, and nobody checked and was like, wait, we already have a team called Wild Pack. And so they were like, you have to change it now.
Nice. That's funny.
I just love the in-comic being like, well, we need to change it for trademark reasons.
Yeah.
We can't infringe on
real-life superhero problems.
We can't infringe on our own IP. So then further in this issue, in the present day, Kane is trying to seek revenge for what happened to Hammer, and so he goes to attack Cable. That's the end of that issue. And then we get more of the...
Right, yeah.
Cliffhanger.
Well, yeah, the part of the cliffhanger at the end of the issue is that it's revealed that Kane finds out that Stryfe and Cable are one and the same, but also they've, obviously they were standing face to face, so they aren't exactly the same person. Like, it's not like he's been, a double agent per se, but at the same time... They don't
know why they can trust him, because they look like literally the same, like same scars almost.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's very confusing, and this is also supposed to be a revelation to Cable at this time, too.
Yeah, he learns it, too.
He's known that Stryfe has caused him pain and suffering in the past, but not that... Yeah. I was struggling not to say that.
You have to.
But yeah, he did not know that Stryfe was himself.
Yeah. This issue jumps back and forth. They spend a lot of time in the past, and this is where they show us what happened with Hammer. Present day, they meet Stryfe again, him and Kane, with the rest of the Wild Pack, or 6-pack at this point?
No?
It's just...
Not in the present.
Okay.
Yeah, in the present, it's just Kane.
This is the Mutant Liberation Front. That's what's happening. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah, basically, they find out that Stryfe has been devising this plan to steal all of these a little bit, even though they're from different time periods and different cultures. And so because they know the last 2 artifacts that still have not been stolen, Cable sets up the first one to be a decoy, and so Stryfe gets a fake version of that artifact.
The mask?
But then, yeah, that's the mask.
Okay.
But then Stryfe finds out, he's basically able to tell that it's a decoy and that what Cable has done. And so when Cable tries to once again sneak up on the final artifact, Stryfe sneaks up on him.
Gotcha. And so the end of that issue is Kane kind of being torn apart again, and Cable sending him to the future and giving him his arms back, but with future technology
in order to save them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I totally forgot that reading the second half of this whole volume. So it's like you're reading it disjointed, and it just seems disjointed.
Did you forget that they were in the future?
Yeah, because later on in Cable, we see that Kane is in the future, and he's talking about how Cable left him there, and I was confused how that even happened, but that's the end of Blood and Metal.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly right.
And so
Yeah, it does seem.
Oh, here you go.
I was just gonna say, it does seem like there is supposed to be stuff that happens in between Blood and Metal and Cable #1, because like they've built up this like team of like freedom fighters in the future and stuff like that. And that's right. Never mind. This is another flashback issue. I forgot.
Yay.
So so we see Cable's wife and his son get kidnapped. So, to be clear, his wife is murdered. His son is kidnapped.
Yeah.
It's such a like. Well, his son is like brainwashed, right? And then he turns on them, and then ends up trying to hurt one of the current freedom fighters. And Cable has to like sacrifice his son.
Yeah.
To save her, but she's still hurt, brain damaged, I think.
Oh no, I think she dies too.
No. She's the one that is
taken hostage. Yeah.
That's her. The one that's taken hostage is her son, or his son.
Yes.
No.
He takes one of their current team members hostage, Dawn Silk or whatever her name is.
Huh. Okay.
Take my word for it.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, also, like the time jump between these two issues, not in or I guess not two issues, but like in the real world, Cable, Blood and Metal, I think came out in 1983, and Cable 1 came out 10 years after that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, they try to validate, or I don't know what the word would be. The excuse for why they have a bunch of the time jumps in this one is that Kane is getting like downloading data, like he's finding stuff in the archives.
Yeah.
Like they're giving him info on Cable because Cable left him there in the future.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's learning about Cable.
Also, Talon.
His father figure / kind of enemy.
Yeah.
Also, I was gonna say, I think you got those dates wrong. I'm looking at this and it's saying that Blood and Metal came out in 1992, and then Cable 1 came out in 1993.
Oh,
I think they're just a year apart. Yeah, even his first appearance in New Mutants was
in the 90s?
Yeah, his first appearance was in 1990. So
I see. Okay, they had 1983, meaning that's when the New Mutants started. Not that's when the issue was. Gotcha. Okay, never mind.
So it's been 1 year.
Ourselves.
Yeah, basically it's been 1 year in real time and in comic book time.
I'd love to do that.
In the future, what I gather is going on in the future is that Apocalypse rules the world and does so oppressively, naturally.
He's an oppressive force.
Right. And so there's the government agency is trying to enforce that power, and the mutant team that we're following is the, I guess, freedom fighters, and they're led by Cable. So this is in Cable's past, which is in the future because he went back in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Stryfe is also in the future. Yeah, confusing. We're just following what happened in Cable's past to kind of bring him to this point, and we then get introduced to this other character called the Sincere.
Sin plus the word seer.
Sincere. Oh, sear. Like searing meat.
Searing meat.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
His name is Sincere.
But Cable comes back, and they...
The future.
Yes, he comes back to the future. Oh, yep. And they lead an assault. He and his team lead an assault against the, Timex? 10X? Something like that.
They're trying to set up another time portal thing building.
Right. So that
it's not near Niagara Falls. It is Niagara Falls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know why that was so exciting for them.
I mean, think about it. Like, what is a geological formation that's not, Earth?
It's not an excuse for a time travel building.
But yeah, so they're ultimately successful, but not before the government sends the Sincere back to the past. It's also hinted at that the Sincere is somebody who knows Cable, so somebody who was kind of screwed over by him, but we don't know who.
We won't find out in this issue.
And we won't find out. I'm guessing it's Tyler. That's my guess, but I don't know. Hello, this is Editing Talon here to give some context to what I just said. Tyler is Cable's son who got kidnapped. Cable and Kane are able to go back to the past, or for Kane, that's Kane's present. But something doesn't go right, so they end up in one of Cable's vaults, and they're trying to get out. And
Stuck
that's
at the bottom of the ocean.
Yes. And so when they get out, they're able to meet up with one of the original Wild Pack or Six Pack.
Six-pack.
Yeah. And
It's GW, George Washington.
yeah, George Washington
Not that one,
Bridge.
though. Not that one, though.
He's just, but then we get the Sincere, who's in the present day now, and for some reason he's looking for Deadpool. I don't know why. And
Him and Cable are such
Don't worry
good
about it.
friends.
yeah. And so GW Bridge helps Cable and Kane meet up with the rest of the Wild Pack, but also he knows where Cable's X-Force team is. And the kind of story that I remember from the introduction was that Cable had left the Six-Pack for some reason, I don't remember, and formed X-Force. And then he eventually left them. That involved Domino.
Yeah, he's a real team starter, not a team stayer.
Yep.
It's an ideas person.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so they meet up with... Wait, this is X-Force, right? With Domino and... What's her name? Vanessa, Grizzly? Or is that Wild Pack?
That's part of Wild Pack, I'm pretty sure.
I think so too. I
am unsure, actually. But
that's what I'll say. I'm locking in my answer there. They meet up with the rest of the Six-Pack, and we don't see Cable meet up with the rest of the X-Force in this volume. And
yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah, it makes sense, because, the ending GW being like, Cable... You need to be able to you need to trust us and tell us everything. That way we can trust you. Cable's like, not in my nature. I'll be leaving.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
It does seem genuinely remorseful, to be fair.
That's true. This whole volume ends with the rest of the Six-Pack leaving and leaving Cable behind while Cable waits for X-Force, because I guess he's at their base.
Yeah, even Kane chooses to, not stay.
True. And Kane, who went through this incredible journey of really hating Cable and then being left in the future alone for a year, and Cable coming back and him being like, oh man, this guy's great. He was like, nah, I'm at peace. Which to me, I'm like, in my previous understanding of that, this was 10 years difference. I'm like, oh, I totally understand. There must have been something that happened between these issues for him to turn around that quickly. But no.
Well, yeah, I mean, because at first Kane starts really hating Cable, or not starts, but from where we're introduced to him in the present.
Right.
He hates him, and then basically they have an uneasy truce to take down Stryfe together and get better from his injury.
Yeah.
And
I think we kind of skimmed over that, right? Because they do bring back technology from the future to help Hammer with that. So, technically Cable did help Kane with his goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think there is a little bit of like, hey, why'd I have to stay in the future for so long?
You don't tell me anything, yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately they are still friendly with each other. I think that is well established, I think.
I don't.
Okay.
You just have to read every single text box, Talon.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Right, because I'm so known for skipping over text.
Did you?
No.
I didn't either.
Oh, there you go.
It
Yeah.
was
Also-
difficult.
Yeah. I will say, and this is actually relevant to what you guys were just saying, I did kind of skim over Cable 3 and 4, and for that reason, I did not appropriately attribute some of the artists. And unfortunately, of course, especially in issue 3, it is multiple people across different pages. So in issue 3, pages 1 through 4 is Ron Lim and co.
Okay.
Pages 5 through 7 is Paul Smith and Tom Palmer. Pages 8 through 10 is Claus Johnson. 11 through 13 is B. Peterson and H. Candelario. 14 through 16 is Carrie Jamil and Al Milgram. 17 through 18 is Ian Churchill and Bob Wykeck. And then 19 is Ian Churchill and Al Milgram. And then 20 through 22 is Paul Ryan and Al Milgram. And that's all on issue 3. They really split that one up. On issue 4, Rob Liefeld assisted on the art and Al Milgram inked. But Reddington, or Wiley Reddington? I think that's how that's supposed to be said, was the pencils on page 16. And Koblish was the pencils on page 18. Yeah.
Yep.
Why
That's
they
right.
broke it up like that? I mean, I assume it was deadlines.
Yeah.
But also why they credited it that way in such a fragmented kind of way. Like, the way that they did issue 3 made sense, actually. But issue 4 is, like, very, like, it was this guy, but he helped also a little bit. So, but anyway, I guess that's neither here nor there. But
I mean, we noticed it. I definitely noticed some changes in the
Yeah.
art from time to time. I don't
Yeah.
think I noticed between page to page a ton, because I was reading so much text.
yeah, for sure.
So what we
But
think?
yeah. I definitely, so starting kind of at the New Mutants issue, gosh, it's like I had to, like that opening page with Rob Liefeld art, there's so much that is just like exactly what you expect of this, like the shape of his
Cable?
like the guy's hair on that first page.
Oh,
The triangular. Yeah, Wild Side, I think.
Yeah, Wild Side, yes.
Yeah, one of the Mutant Liberation Front
Yeah.
people.
Yes. The squinty eyes, the open mouth, the bulging thigh muscle that doesn't make any anatomical sense. The overall just weird proportions that don't really make sense. Yeah, all of that stuff.
we'd love
It's just,
it.
yeah.
Can't do without it.
Yeah.
I like some of the art that Liefeld didn't do.
Yeah, okay, so actually, before we just, like, discard Liefeld, I will say there are some scenes I actually did really like from him. It's just, like, when you look at the ones that he's, like, most known for, like, his most notable...
His action scene.
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah, those are the ones where I'm like, what is happening? But all of the, like, character drama kind of stuff, like with the New Mutants, where they're just, like, sitting and, like, talking and stuff, I'm like, yeah, you make, like, I like this, actually. This is good.
Interesting. See, I am not that way, in which I liked all of it. I did not. But
Oh my
then
God,
again,
too.
yeah. But then again, I don't.
So you're saying art-wise you loved everything?
Well, at least with this first issue. Yeah, I like the art.
Okay. I'm going to say that first issue, anything with the mutants, the new mutants, I was like, what is going on? I don't like any of these people.
Oh no!
Like the way that they looked, or
you know,
the way they acted.
I guess it was just frustrating. There's just so many mutants. They're all fighting each other. They all have different.
I mean,
I don't know.
To be
it's
fair,
a little bit much to wade into.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I will say that I didn't perceive it that badly because it was like the Mutant Liberation Front and the New Mutants are like don't interact. Or at least I don't think they do until
but the police is like, so-and-so is doing this. And they're like, oh, they think we're part of this group. We're not. And then that group shows up and they're like, join us. And they're like, we won't join you. And then they get shot by Mystique's people. And they're like, fine, we'll join you.
Yep.
And Cable's like, stop. For unknown reasons.
Yeah, it seemed like Cable got captured, which I don't know how that happened.
He got captured.
Who got captured?
He escaped.
Cable.
It doesn't matter. He's super cool.
Yeah.
It was a little silly. I just get the sense that Cable was kind of being set up as super cool because it's the usual like army people being like, look at his dossier, it's a mile long.
Yeah.
It's a little. They're propping him up a little bit. Once we got past that and started to get into Cable's backstory with like the six-pack group, I actually started to get invested in some of it, although I had zero idea that there's any relationship between him and Domino.
Oh yeah.
That like flew over my head. So when like towards the end of the I think it was the 4th issue where it's not Domino, but it's a person who is pretending to be Domino.
Right.
Vanessa?
Yes.
That's her name?
Mm-hmm.
Where she's like, we had something.
I think she goes by Copycat.
Okay, Copycat. But she's like trying to plead with Cable. She's like, we had something, after revealing that she's not who she said she was.
Mm-hmm.
But they still had a relationship. And Cable's like, we had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Turns his back on her. It was so dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a...
Yeah.
Oh, no, you go. Do you have more to say, Shwinta?
Who?
I have a billion things to say. You can go ahead.
There was a introduction at the beginning of Cable, Blood and Metal that I read that was very confusing because it was written in a way that suggested that a lot of these events already happened and that Cable knew that. But then as you get through the issues, it's like Cable's hearing about it for the first time, and I'm like, what? How did you not know? Like, the glaring one to me is the Copycat being undercover, I guess, as Domino. You're like, wait, I thought you already knew that, Cable. Because
they have that section, right? Where he goes, I need to find Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
And then that never happens. He never finds her. I don't know what happens. But I clearly remember that, right?
Yeah, I don't remember that specifically, but
I just remember like it was one of the issues ending or one of the scenes ending with him being like, Cable is going to find Vanessa now. He's looking for her.
I gotcha. It's also weird that her name is Vanessa and Deadpool also, his girlfriend's name Vanessa.
Yeah.
And they're not the same person?
No, they're supposed to be the same person, but it's like just a kind of like it's a reference, not a cameo, but like one of those things.
Interesting. So Vanessa Carlisle, Deadpool's girlfriend, is Vanessa who disguised herself as Domino.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Pretty much.
And then has a relationship with Cable?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Ugh.
I mean, I don't know if the comics Vanessa ever has a relationship with Deadpool, though. I don't think that they're necessarily like a mainstay couple like they are in the movies.
Oh.
Yeah, Deadpool has death.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I kind of feel like it was just like, everybody just needs a name, a name that's like people can point out and say, hey, I know that name.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that character was super underutilized in like all 3 films. So, but
What a
anyway,
massive
back
web
to the comics.
tangled.
Yeah.
But I felt for like Kane and Domino, or not Domino, darn it. We were just talking about her.
Oh, copycat.
I felt for Kane and Hammer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, actually, though, in the first flashback sequence, the one that starts 10 years ago, not set the 7 years ago one, I was like, man, I guess I was expecting this. Like, no matter how I personally feel about what they're doing, I was expecting the comic to frame the Cable and Six-Pack as, like, still the good guys, kind of, and I'm like, no, you guys are just like mercenaries, and you are not being framed by this comic as like good guys at all.
They literally have like, it's about money. We do it for money, or this or that. And it's like all really selfish reasons.
Right.
They're pretty upfront about it. I think the part with Hammer, they worked so hard to get him this new body, and then he rejects it, right?
Right. He wanted to be human.
Well, the fact that he points at Cable is like, I don't want to be like him. It's
Right.
like, oh my god, man. I get it, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wish that for how important it seemed like Stryfe was throughout this whole volume, I feel like we didn't get a good idea of like what his deal was.
He's evil.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, though. Like,
I mean, that's it, though.
the amount of times they're like, oh my god, Stryfe's here. And then it just kind of works out.
Yeah.
He just kind of leaves.
Yeah.
Threatens them, leaves, holds someone hostage, but still just leaves them alive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was like, what is his deal? Like, is he playing with them? Does he just not care?
Mm-hmm. I think the jumping around time part was the most confusing in terms of trying to understand anything about the comic, but
Oh, for sure.
Stryfe certainly.
And then time travel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was hard to understand Stryfe as in particular with all that going on, I felt.
Just don't think you can show your main villain that much and not explain more, like Cody's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Goes up so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That does villainy things.
I-
Other than like his
Like, I mean,
Cable actually trying to stop him with the artifacts is like a solid plot line, right? Like, we know when he's succeeding, we know when he's failing. The rest of the time, I'm like, I don't know what Stryfe's doing. I don't know what Cable's doing.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the simple answer is he's leading the Mutant Liberation Front.
To do what?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Do they want
And
their own
also,
TV show?
it's weird
Like,
to be...
sorry.
It's weird to have your nemesis be just like a younger, alternate version of yourself, because it's like, you're like, yes, I will kill you, and then, you'll never be, like, your future will never come to pass or something. And it's like, dude, do you just not want to exist then? Like, is that because there's simpler ways to go about that. Like,
Well,
I'm confused what your end goal here is in killing Cable.
it's
Stryfe,
you are
literally.
Cable.
Is it Stryfe or is it Sincere who's like, yes, Cable's parents, I'll get to them. I'm pretty sure it was Stryfe.
Yeah,
And I was like, do you mean your parents?
That's true.
No,
So
I don't think that was Stryfe. I think you're right
Okay.
that was Sincere.
Okay.
yeah.
Still.
Because I think it's revealed that Stryfe is actually the original Nathan, and Nathan is a clone.
Yes.
So
okay.
it's,
so
it's not like
this is the conclusion that Cable comes to, right? Which
I guess.
I guess we just we don't have anybody else say it. It's just Cable who is like, okay, this is probably how it is. I figured out.
Right. So for some reason, Cable was, or I guess Nathan Dayspring is his name, was cloned as a child, and we don't really know what happened with Nathan, like the original Nathan Dayspring, but this Nathan, who's Cable, was raised by, I forget their names already, but some family.
Clan.
Yeah. And then, or Oksani.
The Chosen Clan or something.
Oksani. That's what it is. Askani. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the original Nathan grew up to be Stryfe, and so it's but still unclear as to why he turned evil.
Yeah, we gotta have more issues and more volumes, and maybe we'll do something.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the idea, though.
Yeah.
I really like the scene where they are at the bottom of the ocean, stuck in that safe house of Cable's. You know, they come back from the future, but they're stuck in this safe house under the sea. And
Under
they're like
the
not sure how
sea.
they're gonna teleport out. and you know, they get to kind of have a moment of drinking beer and talking to each other.
Yeah.
Which it goes back to when Cable and Kane were fighting in the snow, and Cable's like, I just want to have a beer with him.
Yeah.
Crack a few jokes. So he gets that moment, and then he talks about himself quite a bit.
Well, he's asked.
I mean, I'm not saying that's a critique. I'm just
Yeah.
statement.
No, for sure. I think that there is a good attempt to like build like solid character foundations and then like maintain those foundations even through different writers and stuff like that. Mostly this is written by Fabian Nicieza, so it's not like a lot of different writers. But still though.
Yeah, I think the part that's missing for me is it hurt, of course, when Kane was like, I'm not going to stay with you, Cable. I'm going with the team. You know, if you can't open up to the team, like, how can we trust you? You know, making that final decision after they've been through quite a bit together. But at some point, Kane says, Cable's like my father figure, but also my enemy. It's all confusing to me. You know, that's why he's having a lot of internal struggle. And I don't know if I ever got a sense that Cable was like a father figure to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would have been really good, especially I think Cable's like death of his wife and death of his kid. It explains a bit about him, but I think as much as I don't know if I want it to become like his traumatic backstory as much as it just wasn't emphasized, is what I'm saying. It's like a thing that Kane learns about him that we just kind of know in the background, but doesn't really come up that much. Like, I guess, because it feels like what Cable did to the Six-Pack team in like putting them in danger and hurting quite a few of them for his own logical reasons. It feels a lot more prominent and, you know, a wound in his back than his like wife dying and his kid dying.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I don't know, I guess I just wanted more of the relationship that was destroyed to be emphasized with Kane. Like, I get why Kane's upset at him about on behalf of Hammer, but I didn't get as much a sense of the personal reason. I guess internal stake, I don't know.
Interesting.
Just a little something I noticed.
Yeah, I think, it's definitely like, it feels sometimes like storylines are a little bit like rushed. Like if they could take their time a little bit more to think things through, it's like, there's some good bones.
I do think a lot of times they're doing so much to try to like wrap up the thing we had earlier and set up the next thing we want to do because we're gonna have a billion issues.
Yeah. I mean, that's true.
That copycat Vanessa thing. I was like, I don't know why I need to see this. I'm like, but I'm sure she'll come back later and like stab him in the back or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, that is like that. They are kind of aping off of the structure that Claremont built with like his X-Men books of like the starting like a bunch of little plot lines to like, you know, tease out throughout the series, you know, and just like, you know, getting to them one by one in bigger and bigger ways as like things go down. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's being done as delicately here, where it's just like, no, yeah, we'll create dramatic scenes of stuff, and that might come up later, but we're just gonna kind of like water balloon it at the wall, you know, not like, hey, this is something that might come up later.
I definitely get that sense with the fight between Cable and JW, or GW.
Right.
They just yell at each other a ton. And Kane's like, this is kind of like the conversation I had with Cable when I first met him. Yeah, what's the point of this? They're just yelling at each other.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, so I'm thinking basically like that overall this was kind of what I expected. There was, you know, some enjoyable parts to it, for sure, but it was I don't know, yeah, this like okay, in terms of like kind of our sliding like 1 to 5 scale, for me this kind of sits at like maybe a 3 or 4, and to remind listeners, that's 1 is the like a is good and 5 is bad, essentially, for simplistic terms.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
you want to be number 1.
yeah.
Yeah, I would
I'd say
say
this wouldn't. No, go ahead, Shweta. Sorry.
I would say that this book, a lot of times we say, like, would we continue reading? I don't think I would continue reading. I'm happy I read this. It was a little tedious at first to get into, and it was a little tedious to read overall. But I like a lot of the ideas that come up in it, and I don't think they're properly utilized, like we kind of mentioned. But not bad for interpersonal drama.
Gotcha.
That's true.
So I'd probably put it at like a 3 or something. Being pretty nice to it.
Yeah.
I've read some like 10 years ago from when this was New Mutants. And so it was kind of fun to see like 10 years later, like who's on the team and like all of that stuff, how they've changed. But so yeah, for that, in that way I was like, oh, that's cool and fun. But yeah, no, I can like I would like to read more of that, I think, like the in between to see how we got there. But for the Cable stuff, I don't think I would want to read more either.
Yeah. You compared the writing style to that other one with the mutants. And I haven't read any of that stuff. Yeah, Chris Claremont. I haven't read any of that.
Were you not on the episode that we did? Oh, sorry.
I don't know. Maybe I was. But I just am not getting a sense of similarity between another style that I've read. This feels very... I can tell why we thought it was 80s at first. It feels a little bit more 80s to me than 90s. But, I don't know. I guess I just don't have enough comparison between other classic stuff to be like, they could have done this better in this way. I'm just like, they were trying something.
Yeah.
I can see why Cable has kind of lasted, though.
I would say the biggest thing that is a detractor from this book is that it was just so confusing with... And I think on top of that, this is... I have no context for Cable in this time whatsoever. So it was like... It's a very confusing comic to just jump into. And so that's why I'm like... I think I would put this at a 3, and that kind of me being like, well, maybe if I kind of understood what was going on, like maybe I could understand that, understand it more.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to like compliment it on much because that was such a glaring issue to me.
Yeah. I don't think with more context I would have that much of a greater appreciation for this because of, like you said, those specific timeline issues.
Yeah.
You can't do that. I mean, you can, just not in this execution. I've seen plenty of comics where they visually are able to tell you that this is in the past. We've read comics where the two timelines are technically happening at the same time. They kind of jump back and forth. And a lot of them struggle with that, but I do think it can be done better than this, at least.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You can't have a little text box that's like 6 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little too much.
Yeah, also to Talon's point, I will say, it does throw into question, in terms of, the volume, Cable Classic Volume 1. What is the idea here? Is this supposed to be marketed to fans of Cable that have already read these series, but they want it in a collected edition and to reread? Or is this for new readers who've never heard of Cable but want, or they heard of him in the Deadpool movie, and they're like, oh, okay, well maybe I want to check him out, or in X-Men 97 or something like that. It's like, if it's supposed to be for new readers, then it's not a very good jumping in point, because we're kind of left with who is this guy?
I still am not sure why he was trying to help the mutants in the beginning.
Yeah. I think it was just because it was connected to Stryfe.
Say that again?
It was connected to Stryfe. And I'm pretty sure he was already on the trail.
Okay, so he's trying... Oh, yeah, because he's trying to disrupt Stryfe's plans, which are... question mark.
Yep.
Figured out later.
Yeah. Well, I think if there's no, final thoughts, I think that's all the time that we have.
What a pain to read.
Yeah.
But somehow I liked it more than I thought I would.
Oh, yeah. I definitely...
Yeah.
I definitely think I pegged this comic right as, number 5 in terms of the choosing what we would like to read. So
it's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see as we read more if we want to shift the things around and be like, hey, I said that this was a 5, or I said this was a 3, but actually now that I've read something side by side with something else, I'm like, no, I would shift these around. Okay, cool. Good to know though. But yeah, so until next time, this has been the Comic Panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Talon.
And I'm Shawenta.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
If you like this episode, be sure to follow us on Twitter at the Comic Panel 1 and listen to more of us on the Comic Panel podcast on Spotify. Be sure to tune in 2 weeks from now for our next review of Heroes in Crisis.